I've got a question for you gamers out there that aren't in trading guilds. Have you ever been playing ESO and seen an item that you've really wanted to get for yourself, but then you took one look at its price and realized that there was no way you'd be able to afford it without being in a trading guild? Did that price tag make you consider doing the unthinkable for gold? Well, fear not, it doesn't have to come to that. There are a handful of ways to make gold in ESO without ever participating in trading or trading guilds. So put your clothes back on and sit with me for a moment. Let me tell you how you can make gold without having to trade in ESO. Hey guys, it's Artea. If you've been following the channel for a while now, you may have taken one look at the title of this video and realized that this is pretty off-brand for me. A lot of the gold making videos that I've made on my channel revolve around acquiring items to sell in trading guilds, as well as trading practices that can help you earn some massive stonks. But what I've come to learn from responding to comments on my videos is that there's a sizable amount of players that are looking to earn gold but have little use for my particular content. The reason for that being that they're not interested in participating in trading guilds and the greater trading culture that ESO has to offer, or that they are newer players and aren't quite at the point in their ESO career where they're ready to engage with big brain trading strategies. And hey, to each their own. Some people log on to ESO every day to engage in explicit vampire roleplay. It's not my thing, but if that's how you want to spend your time on ESO, I can respect that. The same thing goes for making gold. While I highly recommend joining a trading guild and selling items via a guild trader to make gold in ESO, I can respect that that playstyle is not for everyone. But earning gold is still a very important part of the game. You need gold to repair your gear after you've wiped in a trial for 2 hours, or to buy and upgrade PvP gear so that you can go to Cyrodiil and 10v1 an ESO streamer with the boys, or so that you can acquire some new drip to impress the e-girls in the roleplay taverns. It's a fairly essential part of the game, but it can seem like a daunting or grindy task for some, especially newer players that are still trying to learn the ropes of the game and don't yet have the means to teach themselves the ins and outs of trading in ESO. So without further ado, allow me to show you a handful of ways to make gold without having to be in a trading guild or do any kind of trading at all. Something worth noting when it comes to these gold making methods is the fact that you're able to actually work on improving other aspects of your character while you're actively earning gold, which makes these particular gold earning possibilities all the more worthwhile. Do you enjoy doing chores in real life? Great, because now you can do chores in a video game as well. In all seriousness, while writs can be monotonous for many, it's no secret that they are a very financially rewarding endeavor. After being certified, you can pick up crafting writs once per day from these writ boards. Writs require you to craft some kind of item, like pieces of gear or a potion, depending on the kind of writ that you have. Once completed, you can turn these writs in for reward coffers that can yield crafting materials, upgrading materials, master writs, surveys, and gold, among many other things. The higher the level of your crafting skill lines are, the higher the chances are at receiving very valuable drops from writs of the same skill line, like gold upgrade materials. Surveys are special maps that direct you to special clusters of nodes that contain more materials than your average nodes, so I'd recommend doing those as well. The raw materials that you can get from them can be refined to create upgrade materials, which you can use to upgrade your gear. And of course, just completing a writ, regardless of your crafting skill line expertise, rewards you with a sum of gold. So doing writs regularly enough can be a pretty solid source of income. If you are a new player, I highly recommend that you start doing your writs as soon as you can. And if you don't mind the grind, you can even do writs on multiple tunes each day. This is such a throwback for me. When I first started playing ESO, stealing items to sell to a fence for gold was my go-to massive brain gold making strategy. Back when I was still a noob, I used to run around this particular route in the Rift that was littered with plenty of lockboxes to loot and NPCs to pickpocket. Back then, this tavern used to be a huge role-playing hub, so there was always some spicy in-character and out-of-character drama to eavesdrop on while I committed theft. And the occasional murder. You can use your pickpocketing skills to swipe items from NPCs, and you can use your locksmithing skills to break open safe boxes and loot gold and more sellable items. If you've unlocked the Dark Brotherhood skill line on your character, you can also use the Blade of Woe to stealthily kill NPCs and steal items from their dead bodies. To be most efficient, you can steal from an NPC once while they're alive, game end them, and then loot another item off of their dead corpse. Jesus, that's f***ing morbid. NPCs do respawn, don't worry, although it can get pretty immersion breaking to see an NPC sweep up their own dead body, but I digress. These special stolen items can be sold to a fence found in any outlaw's refuge, but be mindful of the fact that you can only sell so many items to a fence per day. You can upgrade this limit by spending skill points on this passive once you've leveled up your legerdemain skill line enough. If you want to get real efficient when it comes to making gold from stealing, you're going to want to establish some kind of route. A path that you can follow that has a whole bunch of lockboxes and containers and NPCs to steal from. I've always heard that the best places to establish stealing routes are in big cities that have few patrolling guards and plenty of neutral NPCs. I know that a lot of people prefer to steal items in Mournhold, Ralcaw, and in the cities in Vardenfell. I hear Balmora is a fan favorite, since there's also a chance to receive exclusive furnishing plans while doing so. I'd also recommend Dalmora and Balfoyen for farming lockboxes. There are just so many in this location. Leveling your legerdemain skill line is something that you're going to want to do on at least your main tune. Maxing out that locksmith skill is going to come in real handy when you reach the endgame and can one-shot master chests in dungeons and trials, or when you're farming chests along a chest route for gear. When you play a lot of ESO content, you receive a lot of loot. Some of that loot can be sold to other players, some of it can be worn, some of it's better off deconstructed, but some of it is ornate and should be sold to a merchant. Ornate gear is worth more than the average piece of gear and can be recognized by this little moneybags icon. Ornate gear has a chance to drop from mobs and delves, dungeons, and overland content, as well as from reward coffers that you may receive from writs or other daily quests. You'll find that you passively pick up a lot of ornate gear when you play ESO, which can be sold to a merchant for a few bucks. But if you're ever looking to make a lot of gold by selling ornate items, then I recommend checking out the Imperial City. IC is a PvP zone, but there are a lot of PvE mobs in the area, and you'll find that you'll pick up a whole bunch of ornate items if you spend an evening PvPing in IC. There are plenty of other valuable items that come from IC, such as key fragments and Telvar, the latter of which I've made an entire guide on. I'll leave a link to it below if you'd like to find out how to turn your Telvar into gold. Farming mobs in the Imperial City is also a great way to level up your Fighters Guild skill line, seeing as you're killing all of those Daedra. And some of the skills and passives of this skill line are essential for a lot of PvP and PvE builds. If you can find yourself a public dungeon whose paths conveniently loop around, you can traverse that loop and earn a fair amount of gold while you farm mobs. The idea is that once you return to the starting point of your route, the mobs that are usually there have respawned and are ready to get dunked on again. Mobs in public dungeons drop more gold than the average mob that you'd find anywhere else in the game, and they reward you with more XP as well, so you can end up farming for gold and experience at the same time. Even as a veteran player, I always go back to farming public dungeons for experience anytime I need to level up a new skill line. The public dungeon Crimson Cove has always received a lot of clout when it comes to farming a public dungeon for gold. Besides earning gold from killing mobs, you can get a lot of gold just from selling unwanted gear and ornate items to the merchant. If you ever do decide to get into trading guilds or even just selling items via zone chat, you can also go ahead and sell your Impan Spinner's gear as well as Spinner's Infernos that you may get from farming this place for a lot of gold, seeing as this set has always been pretty valuable for PvP builds. The same can be said for the dungeon in Deshawn, whose bosses have a chance to drop valuable Mother Sorrow gear, a tried and true set for Magicka PvE DPS builds. From what I gather, the Lion's Den in the Rift and the Vile Manse in Reaper's March have also been community favorites for farming XP and gold. In an ideal situation, when there aren't many other players around interrupting your farming route, a good public dungeon farming rotation session should reward you with around 10 to 30k gold an hour. Now this is nothing close to the amount of gold that experienced traders can make, but it's definitely at least something for new players or players that are not interested in trading guilds. There are a lot of leads for Antiquities that can be found by killing mobs and bosses in public dungeons as well, so by farming gold in these areas, you may also passively pick up leads for resourceful mythic items, like the Ring of the Wild Hunt, which gives you the Zoomies, or Malakat's Band of Brutality, which automatically makes you a skilled and talented PvPer when equipped. Introduced with the Greymoor chapter, scrying and excavating can actually be a pretty decent method of earning raw gold. As you begin to level up your scrying and excavating skill lines, you will find yourself mostly digging up treasures that serve no use besides being something to sell to a merchant. It's important to note that world events such as Dragons and Elsewhere and Harrow Storms in Western Skyrim, Blackreach, and the Reach also have a chance to drop these kinds of treasures that can be directly sold to a merchant for gold. Even once you level up and scry for more rare items that are not treasures, you can still passively earn gold from every dig. If you'd like, you can even farm gold by constantly scrying and excavating treasure leads, seeing as they're free and do not need to be acquired, like many other kinds of leads. If you'd like to do this, I'd recommend farming these leads in Artaeum, since it's a small island that is easy to navigate and it has no mobs to annoy you while you run around from one spot to another. From what I've heard, it's possible to make around 20k gold per hour doing this. Leveling up your scrying and excavating skill lines is something that you're going to want to do on at least one toon anyways, as many of the mythic items that can only be acquired by way of the Antiquities system are integral for many different aspects of the game. If I can speak candidly for a moment, the amount of gold that you can earn without being in a trading guild does not even come close to the amount of gold that you can earn by participating in the trading scene in ESO. Whether that's advertising your wares in zone chat or selling items through a trader. On my platform, PCNA, essential items such as potions and consumables can be quite expensive, and it would take a lot of farming or stealing or killing or whatever to be able to earn enough money to be able to afford the kinds of items that would be necessary for a lot of serious endgame content. Especially when metas change so frequently and you find yourself having to obtain and upgrade new gear every 4 months to remain meta, if that's how you prefer to play. An excess of gold is also really nice for buying unnecessary but totally necessary items such as motifs that you can learn and use to create awesome outfits for your characters, or furnishings to pimp out your home so that you can impress your e-girlfriend, or even crowns, seeing as it's acceptable to trade another player gold for crown store items. That way you don't have to fork over any real money for crown goodies. I know that you can totally get by without ever participating in the trading scene in ESO, but you may find yourself playing more comfortably if you have more gold to spend on items that you need or want. There are a lot of noob-friendly trading guilds out there with little to no dues that would be happy to have you in their community. I joined my first trading guild with just 40k to my name, and it was one of the best decisions that I made in ESO. Just something to consider. Ultimately, you should play however you'd like, and if you'd rather not get into trading and are happy with the amount of gold that you make without ever having to do so, then that's perfectly valid. I hope that the gold making methods that I've mentioned will be able to be of use to you. If you have any questions about making gold on ESO, feel free to ask them in the comments below and I'll do my best to answer them. Feel free to also join my Discord server. We have giveaways on there fairly often, and there are plenty of experienced traders to learn from. Also, we have amazing emojis, just saying. Shout out to Ace Slasher, Jack, and Pablo for boosting the server, and thank you to those of you that have bought me coffees. Your support means a whole lot, and I really do appreciate it. Now, please smash like, or else Shrek is gonna come into your home at 3 AM to eat your family members. Alright, I will see you guys in the next video. Cheers.